Hey guys, welcome back to another Big Innings. I'm Aaman Patel. I'm always joined by Nate Hayes, and we also have Bob Urbeg, who's been running around this whole production. But we're joined today by Joe Hickey. Joe, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You flew out from the West Coast for today's match, and we got you up late tonight, so thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm operating on about 3 hours of sleep. I think I'm going to just conk out all day tomorrow, wake up, drag myself to the ground, and be ready for the Unicorns.
Feels like what we've all been doing the entire couple of weeks here for Major League Cricket. But we had a doubleheader today.
Join the club.
Joining the club, yeah, he is straight away. But we had a doubleheader today, and, man, it was an action-packed starting from day one. And it was kind of two important matches when you think about it. The first one, less so, maybe an opportunity for Seattle to clinch a #1 spot. But nonetheless, they're taking on the Los Angeles Knight Riders, who are just trying to look for any sort of validation or comfort coming out of the tournament to get themselves a win. They made some changes to their 11. They go with Shadley in the team, Saif Badar in the team, and Gurjanath Singh in the team for Unmukt Chand, Martin Guptill, and Cornet Dry, all respectively there. That was the changes that they made. And then they won the toss, and they sent Seattle into bat first. So a couple of early wins there for LA, and they had to feel good because they got both Quinton de Kock and Norman Armour in the power play.
Yeah, right out of the gate, you're figuring they're in business. They're going to try and limit this total, give themselves something to chase. They've kind of crumpled in the past under bigger totals, but those early wickets gave way to Shehan Jayasuriya and Heinrich Klaassen, and that's where Seattle really got themselves started.
And we got to see some great stuff from Shehan. This was typical Shehan batting that we got to see today. This is what we got used to, and let's take a look at his highlights. Shehan Jayasuriya here.
I mean, it was spectacular.
Look at that. There's the shot.
That's the classic,
yeah,
right? Anytime you're wondering
out.
which lefty's out there batting, you just look for a scoop shot. Okay, that's Shehan.
That's Shehan. And then watch this one. Boom. Just right there. Nice and fine. That fielder was playing pretty fine, and
that ball
he just
was on
beat him.
Middle stump. He turned his wrist off middle stump.
Right.
Like, the amount of courage and trust you have to have in your ability to place that is unbelievable.
He played a couple shots like that,
yeah,
where it was if he had missed it or just edged it off, he could have easily put it onto the stumps. And the confidence that he plays with, you see him a lot out there in San Francisco area.
Absolutely, and he was monumental for Silicon Valley Strikers last year. 2 centuries over the course of the season. Was a monster in Texas. Got them off to that great start last season, and it really was him struggling down the stretch last year that led to Silicon Valley not repeating as champions. Good to see him finally really get his feet under him here in MLC.
Yeah, and we also have some comments pouring in. Dashan, we're great to see you again. We haven't seen you in a minute, but yes, Joe Hickey is an analyst for minor league team, the SoCal Lashings.
Los Angeles Lashings.
Los Angeles Lashings now. Well,
LA
congratulations.
now. They've gone the Lakers kind of route.
Yeah.
The branding, I really like the direction they went. It's a little bit reminiscent of the Lakers, but it's their own thing too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great to have you part of that because he has some incredible numbers. Working with him for the first time last year during the minor league final, he just threw some numbers at me. I was like, how in the world do you just come up with these things?
Artisanally crafted, all sorts of Excel spreadsheets. Thankfully, my wife, who I think is watching right now, hi Aya, is helping me program to sort of streamline some of that for this season.
Well, there you go. And again, streamlining is what the Seattle Orcas felt that they did, able to get to 170. But you mentioned it earlier before we started the show. Shout out to Spencer Johnson with the ball in hand because he was able to, in the last over, go 4 for 1 wicket in the 20th over.
Yeah, Shehan and Wasim were flying. They went 55 off 31 in the death, targeting Ali Khan in particular, who had a bit of a rough day. But, you wonder what that chase looks like if you add another 5 or 8 runs to that total. Give Riley Rousseau a little more friction down the stretch, especially as LA was losing wickets. But don't let me get ahead of us.
Also, just a quick shout-out to Shadley Van Skalkvik, who got his first Major League action today. And
Congrats,
wasn't half bad himself, right? 3 overs, 22 runs, a wicket involved, so wasn't extremely expensive, and he looked good doing the things he does, slower deliveries basically to start things off, and able to create some pressure in that regard.
Yeah, we've seen him star for Seattle, where he won the championship last year, and he's been a bedrock for them with the bat and with the ball. And we saw a little bit of that today. He scored, I think, 12 off of 6. He had a nice 6. But yeah, I talked to him after the game. Ask him a couple questions in like a presser situation, and he didn't give me anything controversial at all.
That's sadly, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I was like, come on, Chads, how did it feel to get in the game after waiting all this time? Nothing. He was of course a gentleman as he always is. He was a team player. So of course it was great to see him finally get a game. Unfortunately, it's in a game that's kind of, it's not meaningless. All of these games mean something, especially to the players, and it wasn't meaningless at all to LA.
Especially as a domestic, you never know what their retention rules are going to be like for next year. So
Sure.
you're kind of buying your place back in a draft. Nothing is promised next year, and if you didn't get a single game, or if you got one game and didn't really perform,
right,
well then you're kind of on the outside looking in of the top 60.
And Seattle wants to try to lock up first place as quick as they can. Well, now it's after later things happen in the day, things are a lot more interesting for that race for first place.
Well, it didn't look like it was going to be an interesting race for first place for a long time because of the way Imad Wasim and Cameron Gannon started the innings for Seattle. Cameron Gannon in particular, in his first over, 2 wickets, taking Jaskar Malhotra and taking Gajendra Singh, 2 players who played for the USA. And you're like, oh my goodness, Seattle just going to do it again with their combinations. And then at the very next over, first ball, Imad Wasim, he gets Jason Roy. And you're like, well, here you go, classic LA story. They lose 3 wickets pretty quickly.
Well, and just a fantastic job by Gannon, who at the moment, with the exception I think of Nosh, has the best average for bowlers on the domestic scene right now, about 11 runs per wicket, and just getting that much better with his work today.
And he's going. The reason his average is so low is his economy is good, and it helps. It helps when you have an economy of 3.25 at the end of the game. But talking to him after the game about what this means for him, obviously his performance has people talking about getting him in the USA setup because he's eligible.
Yeah.
He's played for USA back in 2019. He wasn't phenomenal then, but he's actually, if you look at his domestic performances in Australia since then, he's been a very, very steady, very good bowler in Australia. So seeing him perform the way he has definitely is bringing up the question. He was asked that in the presser. Of course, he wants to play for USA. Of course, it means something to him. And unfortunately, his grandfather passed away about 3 days after he landed here in the USA for this tournament. He was hoping to visit his grandfather while he was here. So really sorry. Condolences, Cameron. But on the cricket side of things, he's been a real treat to watch.
I know he has been an absolute treat to watch, and again, it's not just this match; it's the consistency in which he's performed throughout this tournament that you almost felt like, man, it's over before it started because you didn't figure that Seattle was going to give LA an inch here, especially with the way that entire bowling lineup has been going. And then Andrew tried to go get Saif Badar, and 2 overs later, and you're like, man, and Gannon only gave up 5 in the over previous. You're just, things are going to get harder and harder, and then you have the combination of Riley Rousseau and Dre Russ finally putting in that hard yards they were looking for.
Yeah, and they end up going for 67 off 43 together. And I was taking a look on Crick Info at what was going on with the win predictor, and it had been a while since we'd seen LA as high as about 30% chance of it. And so even at that point, kind of, it snuck up on you a little. You were just sort of seeing them accumulate, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, they need 9s. They could get 9s. They got a pretty good pairing up there right now.
Yeah, and they just blasted it away. And we saw a chase here at Church Street Park, and didn't turn out that the Orcas had enough on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we're sitting, me in the DJ area doing the PA stuff, and then Z, who works with MLC, and she's wonderful. We're sitting there together, and she's like, man, I keep paper pen notes of what the score was at the end of each over for each team. And she's like, what were the Orcas at the 12th over? And I sit there, we look, and we go, 12 overs in, they were 100 for 3. And then it's okay, what are the Night Riders right now? Well, they're 95 for 5. They're not too far off of it. So they are a couple of big overs away, and you're like, if they can just hold on to some wickets, they can make things happen. That partnership from Riley and Dre, really big for them, able to hold some wickets. And then the weirdest 12th over I think I've ever seen, just because I couldn't tell you who won the over to finish things off, because you have a 4 from Dre Russell started off, and then he gets a single, and then Riley Rousseau pumps the 6, and then they get a single, and then Dre Russ goes, there's a wide, and then Dre Russ loses a wicket from Harmeet Singh, and then Sunil Narayan comes in, first ball hits a 6, and you're like, what is happening? Where is the flow going? Who has the momentum? Because it feels like, okay, the Orca should have it, and then Narayan comes in and hits a 6.
Yeah, and from the conversations of, the wicket's a little sticky, it's a little difficult, to see the number of times we've seen where a guy comes in and hits a first ball 6, it's like, this is the format, though. This is what you're supposed to do.
Well, and that 12th over felt like the entire Seattle LA game in microcosm.
Yeah,
because there were
right.
those pushes and pulls the whole way. We saw Rousseau survive losing a bunch of partners down the stretch, this whole time needing roughly 9s to get there. I think they needed 36 off the last 4, and then in comes Gannon again.
Yeah.
2 runs, 1 wicket. Okay, now back to Seattle, and then they score 17 in the 18th over, and okay, now definitely back LA. It was just all over the place.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting stat.
Yeah, the one
Akalish,
for Buckelish, yeah.
You were getting ready to go there, I bet.
I was waiting for you.
Yeah. So we got an Akalish from It's Called Cricket here. He says Andre Russell scored 206 runs on the season, which is phenomenal. Every domestic batsman combined in LAKR's top 5 has scored 171. So that's and a place where they should improve.
Yeah, what do we say coming in the tournament? Yeah, the stars and the international guys, they're going to be your X factors. They're going to be the guys that people turn to. But the domestics are what you're going to win off of. You don't. The team with the best domestics performances is going to win this tournament.
There's 3 parts of this. There's a 3-headed monster. You need your domestics to perform, as you just said. You need, obviously, your overseas need to perform, and your captain needs to perform, because he's in a short tournament, like the 5-game tournament. Your captain's definitely going to be in every single game. The captain's going to be in every game, anyways. But you need all 5 of those to perform, I think, to be in a situation where you're going into the playoffs and where you're going to win the whole thing.
Yeah, and it was tough for LA to find performances even beyond just their domestics. Talk about Riley Rousseau. Before this game, was struggling the entire tournament. Martin Guptill didn't score a run through Major League Cricket, guys. He didn't score a single run in Major League Cricket through his 2 innings played, which is kind of hard to fathom, really, that Martin Guptill wasn't able to score any runs.
We did get to see a really cool run out from him, though.
Yeah,
so.
we didn't get
on brand.
On brand.
But I was happy with that one.
Yeah. But Riley Rousseau finally able to break the shackles of what was holding him back. Score his 50, a match-winning 50, hit Wayne Parnell for a bunch of runs, a misfield out on that first ball, let it go for 4, and then from there it just felt all LA, and a 6 to finish off that final over. Win it off a 6. No better result than that if you're a team on that end of it. And LA finally gets a win in Major League Cricket.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted when it got to be like 6 needed from 9, and I think they were 2 wickets away. I think they had 8 wickets down, and all I was talking with the guys around me about was, I wouldn't mind a wicket.
Right now. just to make things
get
a little
real
more interesting.
spicy.
Yeah, make it strange. Let's do that. Like, it's Church Street Park. And this was something I was saying. Church Street Park every innings is a 3-play act, it seems like.
Yeah.
And maybe not every innings. We'll talk more about that in the next game when we cover the next game.
Yeah, and let's move on. And again, if you guys have questions or want to throw in some comments, please do so while we go through. We'll more than happy to take a look at those and talk about those. So again, if you have anything, drop them in the chat. But we'll move on to match number 2 that featured the Washington Freedom and MI New York, and both teams with something to play for in this match. The Washington Freedom had opportunities because of the Seattle loss to jump up into first place with the win today.
Sure.
MI New York with the win could really be in there for 4th, could really be talking about 3rd if you have a really good run rate and win in a big margin. So there's plenty to play for in this match, and makes tomorrow's match and the Tuesday's match so much more intriguing. And once again, MI, they win the toss. They choose to bowl first and send Washington into bat. And it felt like this was kind of a repeat of Washington's innings yesterday. Before we get to that, a couple of changes for New York. They take Rabada out, which was very surprising for me. They bring in David Visa, a bowling option who can bat as well. And then they bring in Nash Kenjige, as we spoke about, Nate, in for Stephen Taylor. And it looked like they were going to open with Monunk and Cheyenne Jahangir.
Right.
But if we go into Washington's innings, it felt kind of like a carbon copy of yesterday. They lose 2 wickets in the power play, both Carlson short. They lose both of them. They're 46 for 2, and they also took Trent Bolt to the cleaners for 1 over, though.
Yeah, it didn't make this guy in the Fern jersey terribly happy. And poor Trent on his 34th, not 43rd birthday, as it worked out.
Check the MI socials, guys. Check the MI socials.
I didn't know he was older than Jimmy Anderson. My goodness. But yeah, they batted him right out of the attack.
Yeah.
But they couldn't seem to solve anybody else. I think they topped out at 8 runs in any of the overs out of the first 15 that weren't bowled by Bolt.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of called it yesterday about the start.
Yeah.
We anticipated Nosh would be put in the team, or we suggested he should.
Yeah.
He was put in the team. So that, of course, you're not taking Rashid Khan out, so that means that's double-headed attack right there, but you'll lose a little bit of batting there. But Nosh and Rashid Khan were absolutely fantastic. They bowled early as we anticipated.
Yeah.
We knew Nosh would start with the new ball if he was in the game, and we felt like Rashid Khan would come in early too to try to strike early with all the right-handed heavy batting that Washington has.
Yeah, and he did on a fantastic catch by Trent Bolt, too, back at fine leg. He strikes, and that kind of made things start going in the right direction because Mukhtar Ahmed falls shortly after that. Matthew Short, we mentioned, falls. Andres Kaus goes. And so Moses in there early once again, and then has that third wicket partnership with Glenn Phillips. And, Joe, you mentioned it. You don't really know the physique of Glenn Phillips until you get here and see him move in the field.
Yeah, the speed in the field between the wickets,
Yeah.
I think that the pace on an Anrik Norkia delivery and the sheer size of Kyron Pollard were the three things that I just was like, oh, I have to experience this in person or else I just don't get it.
And Marco Janssen's height.
Oh, that.
Yeah. 6'8" is no joke. You don't.
Well, he's
realize
actually
how big
6'10".
6'10". Is it 6'10"? Holy
yeah.
smokes!
Was this going to be like Kevin Durant, where he's underplaying it?
I think it's a
play me
Kevin
at center.
Durant situation. I think that's. I'm thinking, you know what? For the ego of everyone else, you better be 6'10".
Yeah. and make all of us realize, oh, okay, I'm almost at his ribcage, maybe.
Yeah,
so,
right.
So, but
he's
I
got
want
to
to see
be
him
6'10".
partner with Muhammad Irfan.
yeah, right.
Just be seeing like the little ripples in the glass, like in Jurassic Park, as they're going back and forth.
It's funny because guys who are that tall do tend to downplay how tall they are.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's the rest of us are like, I'm 6'1" and
On a good day, I'm about
6'6".
6'3" and a half. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Get a good stretch in.
Get a good stretch in.
Give
I'm
yourself-
standing on a couple of things. You never know.
Give yourself 0.4 inches. You're like, yeah.
And we're rounding here, but
you gotta round up.
yeah, you have to.
He's
you
rounding
have to round
down.
up.
He's
That's
rounding
the rule.
down.
You have to round up.
Yeah.
But the Washington Freedom would like to round up a little bit more throughout their innings. That third wicket partnership big and keeping wickets together, but they didn't score a lot of runs to that partnership that lasted about 9 overs there.
Yeah, I was looking. It was 41 from 39 as they were going into the death overs, and I was kind of writing in my notes like, do they have another gear? Can they get going? I know what Phillips can do. I haven't seen a lot of Enriquez in the past, so I was waiting for it, and it felt like you said, keeping those wickets together gave them the freedom, if you will, to go nuts in the final overs and not worry about the fact that, we're going to lose our wickets when we do this.
Right.
And that was that got them going, and then, of course, the folks who came in after them, Obis and Akil Hossain, firing right from the get-go.
Yeah, first ball sixes.
First ball sixes.
Right?
That's what I was talking about.
Theme of the
Both
day.
of them, back-to-back batters got first ball sixes, and these are first innings first ball sixes too.
Yeah, and they get to 160, and you got to feel happy with where they were. When you talk about the 16th over, they
Sure.
were 105, right? They got to their 100 in the 16th over, and they finished at 160 after 20. They're gonna feel pretty good about it. I'm sure they felt they left a couple of the runs on the board, but after the bowling performance they put on yesterday, they would have to feel pretty confident, especially with the way the New York opening batting had just been struggling. Well, there were no struggles for the New York opening batting today with Monik Patel and Cheyenne Jahangir.
This was a turnaround for them.
Yeah.
It was, it was an excellent thing to see Cheyenne and Mononk coming in and batting this well from the start, but it was an absolute 180 from how they had performed previously in the tournament. And this just goes to show that you got to sometimes stick with your guns for a while.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if they hadn't stuck with Steven. Would Steven have turned things around too? Talking to MI New York about the players, asking them about the players. I asked them about Steven. How's Steven doing? How's he dealing with this, not playing and stuff? Oh, he's been excellent. They said he's had a great attitude. He's come to all of the non-required events, all of the practice sessions. He's out there every time. So it's great that they all seem to be soaking this in, and it's coming to fruition with Cheyenne and Mononk. And you got to think if Steven gets another turn in the team, you got to bet on him. He's one of the best we've ever had in the USA. So, but Steven aside, let's talk about the two that did perform.
Yeah, I mean, again, fantastic. You saw some lofted cover drives early, and I felt in Texas they were almost trying to see where they fit in versus, and here it felt like they were expressing themselves. You saw the classic cover drives from Mononk and Cheyenne. They play those shots really well.
Right.
In Texas, it felt like they were just trying to get themselves and see the ball. Here it was like, you know what? I know what's coming at me. I'm just going to play this the way I play. I'm not going to worry that it's Marco Janssen bowling at me, or it's Akil Hussain bowling at me, or it's Saurabh Netravalkar, or it's Anrik Norkia. Whoever's bowling at me, I'm just going to play the way I play my game. And I think that's kind of the mindset you have to go in with, or maybe just the confidence you have to go in with to get results.
Absolutely, and that first partnership really set them up. It would have been really tough for them to lose from that point, from 67 in the seventh over, chasing 160. All of a sudden it became a small total.
Yeah, it did.
I want to say, and it shows you too just the cruel nature of the sport. You got Saurabh Netravalkar just setting the world on fire last time, and today, similar to Trent Bolt. So not bad company to be keeping, but again, unable to really continue in the power play after getting lit up early.
And you have to think, going into today, I thought, okay, Washington, this could be a huge advantage. They've just played 2 games here. MI New York hasn't been here very long, so they haven't even played here yet at Church Street Park. But also, there's that we just played yesterday type of thing.
5 days off for MI New York. That's a huge break. They got a training session out here. They just got to relax, kick their feet up for a bit. And for a team that's struggling, they talk about the NFL. You go into your bye week, all right? Now we have an opportunity to reset, regroup, and it's almost like what they did. They had 5 days off to really prepare for Washington, prepare their plans really clearly and concisely. And we'll see if that's able to leapfrog them throughout the rest of the tournament, because this was a huge win because of what Nicholas Budin and Kyron Pollard did later on. Nicholas Budin, in particular, he was phenomenal. 62 off 33 with just some incredible shots. Down the ground, square, over cover. Didn't matter where it was. Nicholas Budin was finding the boundary.
Yeah, we were over in the stands by about square leg from him when he was batting at the far side of the ground. And just, we're in the firing line right now.
Yeah.
Both when he and Pollard were batting from there.
That was tremendous. I mean, it was great to see those fireworks, but obviously Cheyenne and Mononc laid that platform, laid the foundation for them.
We mentioned it. Nicholas Budin didn't really have a Nicholas Budin innings yet in
this
tournament.
Up until today.
Right? He was batting 39 off 36.
Because he kept coming in 2 down. Right away. They're in a hole.
Right away.
Yeah.
And now you have a platform, and he's in the number 3 position, which he likes to play in.
Right.
And so he was able to find more of what he is. So I think that, and we've talked about it, I think Budin should be batting in number 3 anyway. And I think because now you've taken Steven Taylor out of the 11, you open up that opportunity for Budin to bat there. And not feel like you have to play the opener at number 3. So you allow him to play there, but I think the key is the base that was laid out by the openers today.
100%. We have a couple of questions. It's called Cricket Says, do you think Andres has exceeded, met, or underperformed his draft spot and expectations? Well, now we can look back at, because they played all 5 of their games, they're waiting to see where they're going to seed in the tournament. In the knockout phase, that's a good question. Andres, I think, honestly, I'm pretty happy with how he's performed. Sure. I think he's played within himself. I don't think. You said that you saw him trying to play a shot that you hadn't seen him play yesterday.
Yeah, it was the one scoop shot
where he got LBW.
And he got LBW higher shelf, and that was the one time I was like, really, is that the shot you're going to play there? But other than that, I thought, since coming to Church Street Park, he's found himself. I think he's kind of chosen to be the more aggressive one early. Yeah. And I think him and Short just had to figure out who was going to be that guy. And once Kelsey decided to be that guy, I think he started to really focus in and dial. Yeah. I was curious, though. Was Glenn Phillips keeping wicket? Is that what I saw at the end of the match? Yes. So I had no idea. What happened there?
Kelsey got injured in the first innings at some point. Okay. And so Phillips actually kept wicket the entire second
match,
innings.
Right? Okay. Yeah. So I remember you had Kelsey on the ground. Maybe about the end of the first over, he was on the ground tying his shoe, or I don't know what exactly was happening. And then I saw Glenn Phillips keeping wicket, so I was just...
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure what happened. But Glenn Phillips keeping wicket is great. It's great to have that option. But my goodness, as soon as I saw him keeping wicket, I was like, I want to see this guy making some more over-the-shoulder catches. I want to see Jim Edmonds out there again. Man. You know what I mean?
I was sitting in an airport lounge in Orlando, watching Saurabh take 6 yesterday and Glenn Phillips run around and do all sorts of insanity, and all I can think to myself is, man, I should have flown a day earlier.
so we got a calf strain from Kelsey.
Oh, okay.
That's unfortunate. So hopefully that calf strain is, obviously don't take chances. You've already made the playoffs, and there's no reason not to sit down and rest yourself. Yep. I'm sure he'll be back to normal soon. But yeah, it's tough to judge. I think I would look at his last 3 innings, and I'm pretty happy with
I would say he met expectations.
At.
I don't think he did anything over the top. Again, a couple 40 runs.
That 40 from 15
that was probably his best innings of the tournament, and it was spectacular.
Sure. We're used to seeing that being a subpar day for him.
Right, exactly. So it doesn't feel like he's kind of gone over the top, but he's played really well. And so when we say he met expectations, I think he set such high expectations for himself, and he set those expectations for everybody else.
And they're in the playoffs.
And that's why I think for most other people you'd say, yeah, he exceeded expectations, but because it's Andres Carlos, it's he met those expectations.
Yeah, I think he won't be happy with what he's done, and they've still got games to go, and that's what matters to him and to the team. And, we could be sitting here in several days saying, how's he just scored 80 from 40?
Yeah,
that could happen, and then he'll be then we'll say he met expectations.
It just comes with the territory being as good as he is, number 3 overall pick. But speaking of number 3, that's where MI New York are now, because Nicholas Buter and Kyron Paula just blew the doors off of Washington, finishes the game off in the 16th over, going 6, 6, and a 4, just to give some variety to the shots they're playing. I couldn't have just all 6s involved, but they win with 27 balls remaining by 8 wickets, and they jump to number 3, which makes tomorrow's match, and we had a comment about there, super intriguing and important, because San Francisco and Texas are with 4 points.
Yep.
New York with 4 points, but New York has the best run rate by far of the 3. So now you have teams fighting for 3 and 4, and it is a knockout tomorrow. If you lose tomorrow, you're out of the playoffs.
You got it. You are, pretty much. It's going to take a lot for New York to get knocked out. I mean, they'd have to lose by a ton.
Yeah, Texas might have a chance there. They could maybe advance a little bit. Of course, net run rates can change pretty quickly in a 5-game season. But, New York would have to just get the doors blown off by Seattle, who don't have nearly as much to play for at this point as the rest would.
And the crazy thing is San Francisco, when you look at they've been Jekyll and Hyde the whole tournament. Like, they have 200 runs innings, and then the other 2 times they just flopped.
They couldn't chase 130 the other day.
Yeah,
right?
you bet 2 out of 4 times you have 200 runs, and you are in the negative in the net run rate.
I think the one good thing for San Francisco is going into tomorrow's game. You know your bowling's going to perform, right? Their
bowling's been solid.
There hasn't been a game in this tournament where your bowling hasn't really fired, because you have the opening of Carmine Harris that have been great. Shadab Khan's been good. You can give him some overs. Liam Plunkett's been good with the change-ups he's made for that role, and then you can always throw it over to Corey Anderson. So you have the options to go to. So that's the one thing for them. One thing for Texas is, Devin Conway's coming off of a duck. And so if you followed his innings, he goes 50, duck, 50, duck. Does he follow it up with another 50 to finish things off?
Yeah.
But Faf hasn't found any rhythm. Their batting lineup hasn't found rhythm if you're Texas.
Right.
And so you could say maybe for San Francisco, okay, well, Aaron Finch isn't batting at his peak. The Singh hasn't really found a role. Chisendra Bishnoi hasn't found a role. But I would feel a little bit more confident in San Francisco's batting lineup at the moment. So there's going to be, I think, you're going to have to really fire tomorrow if you're Texas, I think, on both fronts.
Well, and you two talked last night with Steve that there are a couple of possible additions in the cupboard that San Francisco haven't used yet. If they really do want to lean into the batting side of things, they do have a David White that they could dust off, which is a nice thing to have available.
It is, if you want to double down on the batting. And really the weird thing is, yes, their bowling has been the 3rd most expensive, I think, in the tournament. But yeah, it's their batting. They're going to win or lose with their batting because it's either been fantastic or it's been terrible. But I think they're all happy they've got one more game. They got one more game for the guys who haven't come off to come off. They've got one more game for everybody to fix themselves. And the cool thing is with San Francisco and Texas, they both won, then lost, then won, then lost. They haven't put together consecutive victories
either
team.
We call that Devin Conwaying.
They've Devin Conwayed the whole season. Yeah, so this will be really interesting. Obviously, it's coming. This is going to be a huge game, and I imagine the fans here are going to be stacked into this thick place.
There were people talking to me as they're leaving, like, tomorrow's an important game. And I was like, it should be great. And before we sign off here, Nate, I'm going to ask you, who do you have tomorrow?
Oh, man. You
got to put you on the spot. We got to put it out there. Who do you have tomorrow?
Man, that's a tough one. I think Jeez, I have to pick this, don't I?
Yeah,
I'm terrible at this. I'm bad at this.
I think either way there's no wrong choice here. I think you could either say TJ Bravo's going to chase the game down, or he's going to bull in the death and make it happen, or you can say, you know what, Matthew Wade's going to have a day. I think I think either way there's a pretty good chance either one could happen.
I think Texas has a slight edge because I think they've used more spin options. They have a little more variety with their bowling.
Okay.
And I just think they have the slightest edge because they're going to have a lot of fans here cheering for them.
There you go.
Yeah. There's a lot of Super Kings brand fans in the area.
Yeah. All right, Joe. How about you?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to close the stat book because this is entirely heart-based. Go Unicorns, Sparkle Army, hashtag.
So I guess I have to break the tie here. I'm going to side on the Unicorn side of things, and it's because I think the batting just has that depth for me, and I don't think you're going to see the whole batting lineup collapse again. I think somebody's going to get a start. Finn Allen got a great start, and if Glenn Phillips wasn't taking an exceptional catch, they probably beat the Freedom a couple days ago, or yesterday, right? So I think that to me. If Finn Allen's been playing well, Matthew Wade we know has already been in rhythm. I'm gonna go ahead take the Unicorns because I think Harshaw can defend it.
I'm just hoping Liam doesn't see this. He'll give me this cold shoulder next time I see him.
Well, we'll pose the same question to you guys in the chat as we do sign off here. Who do you have? Do you have the Unicorns cementing their place tomorrow, or the Super Kings, will they jump back into the playoff table? Let us know in the comments below.
Put it in the comments, guys. We need some comments.
Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with some friends. Thank you so much, Joe, for being on. We appreciate your time. Now you can get some sleep a little bit before the game tomorrow. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. For myself, for Nate Hayes, and for Bob Big for making all this production happen and getting to this stream to you guys. Thank you for joining us for another Big Innings.